Back in November 9th, 2022 on the Producer Grind podcast, the legendary multi-platinum music producer Timbaland said this.
Like, love it, love it. I tell producers, like, man, it's so much you can do with one loop. They be like, oh, it's done. I say, no, man, we can trick this bitch out. What are you talking about?
And that's what we'll be talking about today. The autonomy of sampling and flipping a loop in many different ways using many different tools. So let's start off by deconstructing the great mind of Timbaland using one of his greatest hits. Right now, we are utilizing a very powerful tool by Hit and Mix called RipX, and it allows us to have the ability to listen to the famous drum loop from Big Pimpin', which is off of Jay-Z's Life and Hard Times of Sean Carter album, and it's produced by Timbaland. So let's go ahead and break this down. The link will be in the description box if you're interested in checking it out. So the first thing we need to do is listen to the percussion, because not many people know that Timbaland actually had a percussive loop in there. This is the first time I actually discovered that. RipX is a great tool for analyzing loops or stealing them. Just playing. Let's just use this for educational purposes only. And this percussive loop actually carries this track, as we will find out once we listen to the drums. Now the drums actually are layered over that percussion. So he is taking that loop from that basic premise and using a great drum selection. So let's go ahead and bring in the kicks. And the kicks just ultimately finish off the loop itself. So utilizing a loop and getting the most out of a loop is very powerful if you understand what you're trying to accomplish. There is that flute that everybody knows about, and of course, the violins. And let's go ahead and take that back out. Now, it's all about utilizing the proper parts of the track as we just explore that. And we can all see that in front of us, that the spacing and proper amount of volume will affect how your drums hit. Now let's go ahead and put that into practice using original track. In celebration of the new Timbaland Edition MPC Live 2, I will demonstrate that as well, but make sure that you check out the new Beat Club Timbaland Edition MPC Live 2 that is only available at kaiprofessional.com, and it comes with the Bounce Coming Up drum kit and a couple of other things as well. So make sure that you check it out. It is the ultimate bounce.
The bounce coming up.
So we have a loop right here. I'll have it linked in the description box. It's made by Sonic Gems. 8 Perks is dope as hell. But let's take that very concept of what was applied in Big Pimpin' here. So we start to hear the drums, and now you see that the drums, you know, they add an extra element to this track here. And if I was to add the sample on top of that, you know, you can see what we're really gonna get right there. Boom. Yeah, the sample is cold. And from here, we're gonna go into another element like the bass, because bass layering is important too. And that's where you start to get the bounce. So one of the concepts that I want to talk about as far as this loop goes is that it's not just one loop, it's actually multiple loops. So where's the proof in that? I can go over here and to mutes, and then we have these 3 loops. And if I mute these loops, you can hear it's just one loop. And then we have another loop that's going to play in a sec. And that's that loop. So, you know, you can take loops and then combine them together to get a more broad element, depending on, you know, the flavor of the loops. And it will help the bounce. And then I have another loop right over here. So let's go ahead and listen to this. It's actually slowed down. So what I'm gonna do is show you, you know, the basic concept of that loop. Let's go ahead and go into this loop and bring it up to its speed, its normal speed. So that's the normal speed of that loop. And if I was to bring everything back, then you can start to hear, you know, just different concepts. So all this can be achieved in many different ways on the MPC. And then I can also bring in different effects to make this element stronger. And all this can be applied on any drum machine groove box that has time stretch. And definitely in the DAW. Hold that thought right now. So let's go ahead and add some type of dynamics. Let's go with air pumper. Yeah, see, you didn't even know that, y'all. I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't even know about air pumper being able to manipulate your sounds. And you can also do, you know, different speeds. And so forth. And then you can mix in the depth. Let's go with something a little bit more subtle. And then let's just bring in those elements again. And you can go and use any instruments. Don't get it twisted. This actually gets deeper once we enter the DAW world. So here's a track I got in FL Studio, and it sounds like this right here. And if you don't know, I've used this track before, but other than that, you know, it sounds good for the most part. An R&B track that has, you know, nice elements, but let's add the concept of looping in there. What I'll do is I'll introduce you to a nice tool called Playbeat. And Playbeat is a really strong tool for looping one-shots. So in theory, you can use one-shots with Playbeat, and it can remix those one-shots into nice little loops automatically through their random based and AI driven algorithm. So case in point, let's turn it up and let's hear it. And what I'll do is I'll do a quick little demonstration of this. It does allow you to put in your own one shots or whatnot, but however, I'm just gonna go ahead and just show you, you know, you can put in your individual sounds, like I can edit sounds and check out samples. So I can go into sample edit and mess with different parts. And then once I'm done, I can just roll this dice right here, and technically it will give me a new loop. Let's go to all. Let's roll it again. So as long as you have a nice collection of one shots like we all do that just sit on our computer, you can make some crazy loops with little to no effort. FL Studio has a strong tool where it's just built inside of the DAW itself. And all I'm doing is just gonna chop this part of the loop, let you hear it. And once we have accomplished that, I will go ahead and access a pretty strong tool right here by clicking on this right here. It is called selecting region and region chopping. You can go as far as time-based, repeating, marching, patterns, and so forth. So let's go ahead and do drum and bass. Let's hear that. Now let's go ahead and take it back one, and then we'll go to this part of the track, and then we'll go and do a different concept of complexity called triplet sequence. And you can see clearly that, you know, FL Studio is quite capable of doing some nice things to some loops, depending on what the loop is. If you want to go the third-party route, it's as simple as just going to your drum loop and then accessing a plugin called this right here. So Looperator actually does what the name says. It changes up loops. Actually, it will mangle the loops. So I have it on default right now, and if we was to hear that, we already know that the loop itself does not sound like that, and we can attest to that by just turning Looperator off. Now let's turn it back on. And let's just explore some of the presets, as this is a very strong tool on any kind of instrument. Here's a no-brainer tool right here. I mean, it's quite obvious, but gross beat can do a whole bunch. I mean, let's go ahead and just play the loop again. And then we can just go and select a preset from any of the sets here. You know, we can do flanging, juggle science, and so forth. I didn't know that existed. I like that. And then you can always just blend that in. All right. To the right of me, I have more content for that ass. And make sure that you subscribe to this channel if you like what you like. And all the stuff that I mentioned in the video, including the samples and the plugins, software, will be in the description box. Support the channel.